The candy.
And we need a little sweetening up.
Okay, we're all set.
Okay, we ready to go?
Yep.
Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Welcome to our meeting tonight. Call to order moved by Councillor McGuinness, seconded by Councillor Featherstone, that this meeting be open at 7:02 p.m. All in favor? Carried. Next, we have the adoption of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Featherstone, seconded by Councillor McGuinness, that the agenda presented to council and dated the 23rd day of July 2024 be adopted as prepared. All in favor? Carried. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Okay. Adoption of previous minutes. Moved by Councillor Featherstone, seconded by Councillor McGuinness, that the minutes of the special council meeting and regular council meeting of July 9th, 2024 be adopted as circulated. All in favor? Carried. Okay, next we have presentations and delegations by, we have Leanne Chadburn-Smith, and I need a motion. Moved by Councillor McGuinness, seconded by Councillor Featherstone, whereas the procedural bylaw 2023-48 sets out rules for conduct and procedures at all council meetings, and whereas section 2.3 permits council to suspend rules with a 2/3 vote in favor. Now therefore council hereby suspends section 15.2 that no person shall speak at council unless placed on the agenda and with the permission of the mayor. All in favor? No one's in favor.
Defeated.
No one's in favor of my presentation, is this what you're saying?
No. Council has turned down your option to speak.
Not right. It's unfortunate, isn't it?
How can they do that when the clerk, the CEO put her on? This doesn't make sense.
Can I just make a comment?
It goes-
I understand that I was supposed to have this information to you in June. I had a meeting with Councillor Featherstone and CAO Nikki Kunkel on June 3rd. And at that time, I was told I could be put on the agenda for July 9th. Now I deferred that to July 23rd for personal reasons.
I know that you did give us your presentation, and
I gave the information as to what the presentation was going to be about. I did not give you the presentation.
the majority speaks. I can't grant you the permission to come up and make a presentation. Council has turned it down.
Why, if they gave you permission in a time slot,
It looks like there was a recorded vote requested. That's the recorded
No,
vote.
that I put that there in case one of members of council requested the recorded vote. The motion was already prepared.
All right,
So
I'll
just-
go with recorded vote. Donna Clark,
defeated, no.
opposed? Jason Corbett,
No.
No.
Featherstone,
No.
No, you need to ask.
McGuinness,
No.
Mary Paquette. I'm going to say something. I turned down people from speaking in this meeting, in council meeting a couple of months ago. And I have never taken such a beating in my whole life. And I'm not going to turn this down. I will vote yes, but there's nothing I can do about it.
Thank you, Mayor.
So the resolution has been lost.
Yes.
So next we have staff reports, report from the CAO. And that's the open question period.
Did you want me to speak to it? So, from the previous meeting where there was a report and council we'd gone through a number of different questions in order to craft the policy. So this is the policy that's brought forward for your review for this evening. It can be amended, it can be changed, and or adopted so that it can start on the August 6th council meeting that we can put the question period. So obviously there's some fundamentals, you know, the question periods on the, shall be a maximum of 30 minutes immediately following the adoption of correspondence on the agenda. So it will be at the end of the agenda. Any member of the public may ask a question regarding municipal governance in bond field. Subject to section 3 of the policy, which just speaks to the rules of asking a question and conduct of any member that's in the public. Questions do need to be spoken to council. It's a council meeting, so anything is addressed to council, not to the public. They're only to speak at a council meeting to council, standard policy. If there's multiple questions are submitted by the same individual, this was something that came up after when the staff were reviewing the policy. We tried to think of every question or every circumstance that might happen. And someone may put in a question or a submission that has multiple questions, and then how would we deal with those multiple questions? Because we have to be fair and consistent with everybody. So it's not like someone could ask 5 questions before someone could ask 1 question. So we did put in that for your consideration, that they must rank those questions by importance, and any secondary questions will only be introduced if there's time permitting. Otherwise, they can be moved forward to the next agenda. Any member of the public submitting the question will be provided with 2 minutes for the opportunity to ask 1 main question. Council would answer it, and then there could be 1 follow-up clarification question answered back. And again, it's still only if there's that time within the 2-minute period. The mayor may remove any individual from the meeting for misconduct. The individual will lose the privilege of asking future questions should there be 2 separate incidents of misconduct. So 1 is your warning, the second you lose the privilege. All submissions of questions will become part of the record for the meeting, and information will be considered public. Questions submitted will be posted on the agenda for review by end of day on Monday prior to the meeting, again, just to meet the requirements of notice for the agenda. And then there's procedures for the questions. A member of the public must submit their question to the clerk by noon on the Monday immediately prior to council meetings. Generally, that's because if they have time from the Friday afternoon to the Monday to review council agenda, so they can ask any questions on the agenda. Council did opt that they could ask any question about governance. So, but those questions are still form part of the public package. Questions and any background explanatory information must be concise. Again, it's only a 2-minute period that they get to speak. And they must be seeking general information. So if someone can't come in, it can be a statement or a comment. It has to be in the form of a question. The mayor will open a question period and call on individuals who have submitted a question to come forward 1 at a time. The individual with a question must state their name and residential address. They must direct their question to the mayor. Again, you can only speak to council at a council meeting. The mayor will direct a municipal official to answer based on who the most appropriate municipal official is to reply, whether it's the chair of a committee, if it's a roads or a planning or any other type of question, maybe the chair would answer. Municipal officials may answer the question, defer the response, or not answer the questions. You reserve that right. If time permits after the answer, a clarification question from the same individual may be asked. And then meeting conduct. All members of the public attending in person shall uphold the goal of fostering a safe, respectful, and orderly environment by refraining from disruptive behavior, comply with directives from the mayor in a prompt and orderly fashion, restrict questions to the appropriate time on the agenda, and not using offensive or aggressive language, and ineligible questions which will not be answered and consist of questions regarding staff conduct or performance, closed session matters or confidential or private individual matters. So if someone wants to come and talk about their tax bill, those are individual things, we cannot speak about that in public. Only general questions can be asked. So that is what we brought just as the policy for your consideration.
Okay, moved by Councillor Featherstone, second by Councillor McGuinness. The council adopts policy Council 01/2024, being a policy to set the standards and regulations for public question period at regular council meetings on the agenda as a pilot project until December 2024, at which time, upon evaluation, council may amend the procedural bylaw to make question period permanent. Any questions? All in favor?
So just a couple of things, and I actually went back and looked at the last meeting that we had. And I believe it was 10 minutes, the last
Yeah.
question period that you implemented. Was it was a
Yeah.
10 minute, yeah, and we discussed 10 minutes.
Okay.
So,
So we'll change that. to 10
yeah,
minutes.
yeah, and I think it was one question per person. The other thing that we had discussed.
So is that
as
in
well.
relation to D? You only want them to submit one question on their email and they can't add multiple questions? Or is it they can't have the follow-up clarification?
No, they
question?
can definitely have the follow-up clarification. I think it was, just to be fair.
You're right,
one
one question was-
So no multiple questions on a submission?
Right.
Right, okay.
Any other question? So we would take this as amended. All in favor? Carried. Next, we have the report from the deputy fire chief. That's just a report. He's not giving us a report or anything. Okay. Report, moved from Councillor McGuinness, moved by Councillor McGuinness, seconded by Councillor Featherstone, that council accepts the July 2024 fire department update submitted by the deputy fire chief. All in favor? Carried. Motion. Next, we have the adoption of committee minutes. Corporate Services meeting, we had committee, no minutes for this session. Emergency Services Committee. So there's no motion for that. Then Planning Advisory. I'll read this.
Sure.
Moved by Councillor Featherstone, seconded by Councillor McGuinness. Whereas the Planning Advisory Committee recommends to Council that consent application B2 2024, Kenneth and Julie Rowland, for one lot addition and one retained be approved. Be it hereby resolved that Council approves this recommendation along with the conditions and notes as set out on the attached decision of approval authority form. Any comments? Councillor Corbett.
I would seek council's indulgence to defer this matter for a period of time. We're trying to work through, there are 3 zones that there is a residential 1, residential 2, and a rural zone that as one lot becomes a larger lot, it would end up spanning 3 zones, which typically would be fine, but it also then we have our hamlet crossing in between those. So what we're trying to do, and what we've asked the planning administrator to do, is bring back a report to talk about whether the hamlet boundaries could supersede a zoning bylaw, a zoning boundary. So I'll use the example of, so you have a property off of Yonge Street that on the east side, you have a residential within the hamlet. You buy a second piece of property and it's now rural, goes back really far. Instead of it now all of a sudden having to comply with the hamlet, which is residential, and they couldn't have a cow in the back 40, 50 acres that they bought, we would actually like to figure out if we could actually have the hamlet line supersede those zonings to say, yeah, if you're beyond the hamlet line, sure, you can build a barn, you can have a cow. if you're within the hamlet, you can't, even though it's one piece of property. So that's where we're still trying to work through this issue, and we're asking for council's indulgence to defer until the next council meeting, just to give enough time for the planning advisory committee, the planning administrator to bring back a report for council to review with respect to that. So
I concur, the same issue.
Yeah.
Defer it?
yeah, defer.
Okay,
Great, thank you.
so that the decision will be deferred till August 6th meeting. Okay. Next, we have the Recreation Committee motion. Moved by Councillor Clark, second by Councillor Featherstone. Whereas the Recreation and Fitness Committee recommended to council that Holly Broadhagen be approved as a member of the committee, be it hereby resolved that council approves of this recommendation. All in favor? Carried. Next, we have items for councilors' discussion. Council discussion, nothing. None for this season, for this session. None for this season.
Summer's over.
Next, we have resolutions to be considered for adoption, and I'm really ready for this. Moved by Councillor Corbett, second by Councillor Featherstone, that the Council for the Township of Bonfield supports the Township of Bon Cher Valley, calling on the provincial and federal governments to implement sustainable infrastructure funding for small rural municipality. All in favor? Carried. Next, we have the Township of Autonomy, South Monaghan, regulations for importation and safe use of the lithium batteries. Moved by Councillor Corbett, second by Councillor Featherstone, that the Council for the Township of Bonfield supports the Township of Autonomy, South Monaghan, calling on all levels of government to enact regulations for the importation, sale, storage, and use of non-OEM or ULC certified lithium batteries. All in favor? Thank you. Carried. Next, we have, it's just information correspondence from the North Bay Mattawa Conservation Authority. Moved by Councillor Clark, second by Councillor Featherstone, that council receives the correspondence circulated with the agenda of July 23rd, 2024. All in favor? Carried. Next, we have the confirmatory bylaw. Moved by Councillor Corbett, second by Councillor Featherstone, that the Council for the Township of Bonfield hereby adopts bylaw 2024-49 to confirm the proceedings of council from July 9th, 2024 to July 23rd, 2024 as presented and is considered read 3 times and passed this 23rd day of July, 2024. All in favor? Carried. Next, we have, oh, what time is it?
It is 7:21.
I don't have a mover and a seconder to close the meeting. Okay. Moved by Councillor Corbett, second by Councillor Clark, that this meeting be adjourned at 7:21 p.m. All in favor? Carried. The meeting is now adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for coming. And I just want to wave like this because I have a little grandson that's watching. Hi, Damon. Hi, Damon.
It's not Jacob.
No.
Missed opportunity.